Jalen Hurts will never in a billion years lead the NFL in passing. That's just not going to happen because that's not how they set it up. But is that good enough for the Eagles to win the East? Or excuse me, for the Cowboys to win the East? Can't wait to get Philly.500 on. But let's do this because we haven't seen him in a bit. Let's bring him up here. Let's bring in Mark Holmes as he joins us now here. And what do you make of what I just said?
Make it about what? Something happened?
I just said that you have the best passing attack in the East, but that doesn't necessarily mean you have the best offense in the East.
Oh, I'm just happy that we can compete, man. I mean, I'm just sitting here listening to you and Xander going off and everything else on your team kind of losing a bunch of players and stuff. I'm going to say I'm happy and I am cautiously optimistic with the Cowboys and hope that the cake's not finished baking. Okay. We've made some really good moves, but they're going to have to keep their foot on the pedal.
Well, here, again, I want to give you this before I get Philly.500 up. Once again, just because I said you had a better passing attack doesn't mean you have a better offense in Philly. Because Philly has proven that their offensive line and their running attack can't be stopped. And whether you're saying, whether not you, but whether people are going, well, we didn't want him to play. Well, again, one thing is a fact. You don't have to have Jalen Hurts win you 4 games. This guy had net yards of 90 yards against the Packers.
Yeah, averaged about 21 passes a game.
Okay, 23, to be fair. But, again, at the end of the day here, no one stopped at February 9th. You still got a lot of work to do in that run game, man, and in that offensive line. I'd rather have the Eagle offense, but the passing offense, Dallas got better, I think, with Pickens. Let's bring in Philly.500 and get his take here. I couldn't wait for this.
Finally, I'm sure you couldn't.
Hey, champ. Oh, what? You're assuming that this is going to be an onslaught. It's not. I think you got better a little bit here today. I do. Go ahead, Philly. How you doing, brother?
I'm good, man. How are you guys doing? Look, it's good to see Mark. Finally something to celebrate. Your team decided to actually try this season and to get in the game. It's welcome to the party.
Well, thank you. But this is a true story here, okay? So here it is. It's 6 a.m. I roll over and scratch my nuts and have to go take a piss. And because I'm an old dude, I grab my phone and I look in there, and at 5:45 in the morning, he's on the West Coast. He sends me a text message and says, it looks like the Cowboys are trying to go ahead and get Pickens. This is a good move. And I'm like, what the hell is this dude doing up at this time of the morning?
I'm watching conspiracy theory videos.
I'm like, seriously? I was like, well, thanks for letting me know, because it's been crazy ever since this morning, just watching this thing go through and hear everybody poo-poo on it. And Philly.500 and I have been texting back and forth. And I have to say, whether you think the guy's a cancer, in the locker room or whatever, this is a Howie Roseman type move. This is the kind of moves that have built the Philadelphia Eagles. If you had said to me that the Cowboys would get a legitimate, 1B wide receiver for $3.4 million, and it was only going to cost them a 3rd-round draft pick, I would have said, bullshit. We're paying more money for Brandon Cooks in dead money this year than we're going to pay him. And you now have over his head the contract to say, we ain't got to get you the contract till we see what you're going to do. And if it ends up being it doesn't work, he can leave and you're going to get a comp pick back. This is literally a no-risk type move. And I'm shocked that the Dallas Cowboys did it.
Well, think about this too, Mark, before I get to Philly.500. The Eagles, they threw out a 3rd-rounder on Jahan Dotson last year.
Yeah.
Player's better than Jahan Dotson. And for the role, Philly, for the role they're throwing him in to spot, again, you got to remember that I still think they need a Y. That could be Amari Cooper coming back to the nest. But just give me your takeaway on what you think here, what this does for the Cowboys. Now, to Mark, you're not going to. I said your offensive passing game improved, but I'm going to say this to you.
I hear you on the
I
running
don't
game.
know if
I
you're
hear
going to
you.
be any better than 8 wins right now yet. I got to wait and see on that one. What about you, Philly?
We will be.
I'm actually a little more positive. I think it was a little more impactful than 8 wins. I actually think this is a really, really. I hate to say it. There's part of me that hates to say it because it's the Cowboys, right? But there's another part of me that thinks I have a lot of thoughts going on. One, why would the Pittsburgh Steelers do that? You get DK Metcalf, you want 2 complimentary receivers, then you ship him off. Is he that bad of a cancer they just had to get rid of him? Okay, that's the first thing. The second thing is I love the fact that Dak Prescott and Mark Holmes, this guy right here, he has to admit when Dak chokes in the playoffs, as he does always, there's no more excuses. No more excuses. Okay? No more. So I'm very happy about that. But in terms of how it benefits Dallas, it's a good move. I think Pickens, from a talent perspective, is a good wide receiver. Now, do I think they surpassed the Eagles? No. I don't think they're as good as the Eagles. But I do think they jumped I think they jumped Washington. I like the Pickens move more than I like the Deebo Samuel move by Washington. I think Dallas became a team that you have to talk about as far as contenders, people in the running, where I didn't think they were, because there was no threats. Now they messed up one big thing, giant thing. Tyler Warren. You could have Tyler Warren and then added this kid Pickens. Now that would have been scary offense. Phils, could you imagine that?
Yeah, no. I mean,
geez, what were they thinking?
I got it. Now, let me ask you something here. And again, if you look at the Goedert deal, they signed Goedert to a 1-year deal where they told him to take a pay cut at $4.5 million. So obviously, it's for the player to go out.
He wanted to do it though, right? Like he.
Well, I
think to be part of it.
If they wanted him to be a long-term thing, they would have given him a Devontae Smith 3-year extension out of team-friendly deal. This is more at the thinking as a player. I do this. Why would I want to go to Carolina for $3 more million or the Jets? Why would I want to do that, lose market value, when I could sit on a football team right now? It's going to be maybe a top 4 team. Go out and get, like, right now we just saw George Kittle sign a $20 million. And I'm not saying he is George Kittle, but you could sign a $15 million deal. Remember, the Eagles didn't even offer him a signing bonus. They didn't offer him a contract. They offered him a pay cut to come back. They were never bringing him back at 14.5.
But he had to want to take less. So I just want to give him some credit for saying, hey, I wanted to be here. He could have gone somewhere else, maybe where they don't have, 50% taxes on, So I want to give him some credit.
He did that because he's auditioning for teams around the league, because
I have no problem with that. And
again, I mean, the Eagles were never bringing him back.
No, but it would have been a big loss. Okay, we all been talking about this for months. How many months we've been talking? You're going to lose him for what? What are you going to do? There was nobody could replace him. So to me, I think it's having him back 1 more year is a big deal. It's a big deal for me.
Mark, do you think the Cowboys have gotten better this offseason?
Oh, without a doubt. To point out to Xander, who was actually talking about this beforehand, you look at the Cowboys offense, where we've only been a one-trick pony. And it wasn't just last year. It's been basically Amari Cooper. When you think about 2 years ago when Dak Prescott was runner-up MVP, and you had 1,700 yards by CeeDee Lamb, and that Brandon Cooks is the next level down at 650, and our running game was Zeke Elliott, who was not Zeke of any elk. He was still Zeke, but 3.7 yards a carry. And you had Tony Pollard, who was playing well. It was all CeeDee Lamb. Now you have 2 legitimate targets out there that's going to help spread the field. And I'll disagree about trying to get Amari Cooper. If you look at the statistics, actually, Jalen Tolbert's numbers were much better than what you got from Amari Cooper. And much like Cedric Wilson, who benefited from CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper and had his 650-yard season and really hasn't been heard from since, you're going to have to worry about Pickens. You're going to have to worry about CD. This guy, you can't cover everybody. I see you shaking, but I'm not saying we are. I'm not saying we're the Eagles, but right now you're looking in the rearview mirror, and the Cowboys are getting a little closer.
I'm not disagreeing with that they improved their team. I think that they did, but we've been down this road with Dallas before. We've been down this road. To me, it doesn't matter what they do in the regular season. I don't care if Dak throws 50 touchdowns. What does he do in the playoffs? That's the question.
Okay,
you said something in your video, but you said something in your video today. You said that you remember when the Dallas Cowboys had weapons and Dak threw for 37 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And Amari Cooper was good. And you had CeeDee Lamb was a rookie. And he was a runner-up for MVP. And then he goes right to the playoffs. And
guess what? We ran out of steam, bro. We ended up having a time. No, hold on. Here's the difference between what you have now potentially, because there's no guarantees. You could end up being the San Francisco 49ers this year. That's a reality that can happen. The Cowboys could end up being like Dan Sileo believes here and not an 8-win team, or they might just be able to turn around. Nobody really knows. You can only go by what you look at and see on paper. The difference of this Dallas Cowboys team is typically we don't have depth. You end up losing a Tyron Smith, and you end up dropping so far down the line that you just can't compete. You get a Tony Pollard that's got a plantar fasciitis. You get a Zeke Elliott who's got a hyperextended knee or a PCL injury that when you get into the playoffs, you're limping around.
Everybody's limping into playoffs.
Well, but the difference is if you have depth and a guy that can step in, it ends up being somebody to go through it. And your team always has depth.
That's right. The Eagles had depth.
Let me ask the quarterback came up small. We got to be honest.
Okay.
The quarterback came up
Let's ask you
in big moments.
Let's ask you now, Camp, this question here. Now, again, I want you to think, and Mark, I want him to think of the group. You had a 53-man roster that went on an iconic run to win a Super Bowl, correct? Every single player that I'm going to name, 11 players off that 53-man roster, 21% of a world championship football team has been exited off that team so far. You got Gainwell. You got Fred Johnson, who played 4 games in a row where he filled in for Mulata and he blocked Trey.
Gainwell, not Gainwell. Oh my God!
Hold on. It's the group. Wait, it's the wait. Who do you think? Wait, do you think? You think that kid Dillon's going to be healthy to play?
I think one pinky.
Hold on, let me finish.
Dillon is better than Gainwell.
Okay, wait. Gainwell, Johnson, Milton Williams, Oren Burks, who started all the playoff games. You really didn't need Nakobe Dean. Brandon Graham's gone. Josh Sweat's gone. Slay's gone. Isaiah Rodgers is gone. CJ Gardner-Johnson, who had really 12 turnovers in the 2 years he was there. And you had Avonte Maddox. Now, whatever you want to think about this, it's 11 players that had some instrument in you winning the Super Bowl. Where in the offseason so far do you believe you've gotten better? And let's put this out there. The first pick in the draft may not play this year.
What do you mean may not play this year? Where did that come from?
From the
he may not play this year?
From the general manager.
I never heard anything about him. I heard
from
he might
the
not
general
be ready
manager.
for camp, but not play. I haven't heard anything about him not playing.
From the general manager. He
said he's not going to play this year?
Okay. No, I said may not. Okay. When do you project him to play then?
I think he'll play at some point. I think he'll start rotating in. I mean, you look at Cooper DeJean. Well, Cooper DeJean played. We didn't see Cooper DeJean till the final preseason game.
In the Ravens preseason.
No, he did not.
Yes,
I'll bet you $1,000. I'll bet you $100.
I know he did. I know
he did not play in the Ravens game. He played in the Minnesota game. I'll bet you.
I just looked it up.
I didn't play in the Minnesota game.
Did DeJean? Did Cooper DeJean?
He played in the Ravens regular season game, not the playoff, not preseason.
I said the preseason game. I said he played in the preseason. I said in the preseason he played in the preseason game. I didn't say in the regular season.
He played the last preseason game versus the Vikings. He missed all of training camp.
Let's see. Did Cooper DeJean play in the Ravens preseason game? Let's see here. Because I could have swore Ravens preseason game here. Let's see. It says, yes, he played in the Eagles preseason game against the Ravens. He made his preseason debut recovering from a hamstring injury. So he did play in the Ravens.
Who is that? Who is that? Grok, Siri, they're whoever they need to be.
Then
their
wrong.
AI needs to be updated.
Okay.
I'm telling you. They didn't. Okay.
He played in a preseason, right?
He played in Minnesota. Yeah.
Okay.
And then he
this
didn't play really till week 4, right? A week after the bye week, he started.
Okay. All right. Again, like I said, I Googled it, so I guess Google's wrong here.
So my point is that he came on, 4 or 5 weeks in the season. I don't see why Jahad Campbell can't do that.
Okay. All right. So let me see here. You may be right here. Ran out of the first time Saturday as the Eagles kicked off their third and final preseason game against the Vikings. Yeah, Google's wrong. I just went to the Eagle website.
I'm smarter than Google.
Okay, so again,
way to go.
He may, like I said though, my question is, if you don't see him throughout the entire preseason, or you don't have him in OTAs, or you don't have him in any of that, you're suggesting he's going to play week 5?
I'm sorry, when he's ready. Yeah, something like that. I mean, I expect him to play at some point.
Okay. Where did you get better, in your opinion, you think, this offseason?
Where did we get better?
Yeah.
I actually think that I like what they did draft-wise. So I like what they did in terms of the linebacker. I think you also, I guess you could argue that the depth is a little bit better, I think, overall in the offensive line too. But as far as impact starting guys, no, we lost guys. We got a lot of young guys.
Okay, so they didn't get better. Now, again, that doesn't necessarily mean 500 champ, that the rest of the division is close,
right,
to you. Okay, so
right.
Well, let me ask you now, Mark. How much do you believe that you've closed the gap to the champs?
Oh, we still have a ways to go. I'm not pretending that we have closed the gap, but things that'll work to our advantage is, one, you guys played until the middle of February, so you have a shorter off season time to recover, whereas my Cowboys had a whole nother month to get themselves healthy. You've got now that first place schedule where everybody's coming for you, and the whole division is going to be black and blue. The thing that the Cowboys did this year, which I'm still amazed, because this does not feel like the Dallas Cowboys. And I know when they did the Brian Schottenheimer press conference, they had changed Stephen Jones's title from being assistant president of operations and all that, to co-owner. And I believe that Stephen Jones is actually doing more of the GM.
This is the last year, Jerry. At the end of this regular season, Jerry's no longer going to be head of operations. Yes,
exactly. Correct. And instead of the Cowboys, where they usually go through and get a Brandon Cooks or a Don Terry Poe or Gerald McCoy, they've gone through and they've got younger people that basically are trying to get that next contract. And so when you start thinking about somebody like Solomon Thomas or Kyer Elam and guys, Kenneth Murray, that are looking to get that big payday, the onus is on those guys to perform. And even if you decide, well, he played really good, we let him go, we'll get a comp pick instead. You now have a very, very young team. This roster has turned over completely. You take Zach Martin, you've got a guy who's going to have a learning curve in Booker, who doesn't seem to be scared of Jalen Carter. You've got a D-Law that's gone, and you end up bringing in a Donovan Easy, who had 16.5 sacks his last year in college, along with 21 tackles for loss and 60-plus pressures. So the Cowboys have gotten a lot younger and hopefully are getting a group of guys together that maybe it's not this year, but maybe it's the next year or the year after. The thing with Pickens, I'm so happy that they went out and they got a young guy. You've got guys that are leaders in that locker room that hopefully will be able to bring him in, and maybe he'll be happier about having an organization that looks like at least we know who our quarterback's going to be. Pittsburgh has been a mess since Big Ben has left. And other point with Pittsburgh, I think you're looking at it the wrong way. I think Pittsburgh has finally realized that Aaron Rodgers is not going to make us that much better. and we don't have a freaking quarterback. And having the draft in Pittsburgh next year, they've got 10 picks right now. They may be looking at, we're blowing this thing up. And it would not surprise me with TJ Watt wanting to get paid that he becomes available out there.
Would that be an answer for the Eagles?
That would be. Can you see the mad dash? Well, he wants a lot of money, but see, if you're Pittsburgh, you got to get a quarterback. If you get a couple of firsts for him, and you've got the draft in town next year for your fans, it would be freaking insane.
See, and this is why I look at a guy like Darius Slay, who I like Darius Slay, but he's going to play one more year. He's won a Super Bowl. How hungry is he? He went to Pittsburgh where they're not trying to win. So, to me, I look at a guy like that leaving like, okay, I appreciate what you did, but I want guys that are hungry. That
did give him $10 million though. They did give him
but what's he going to do? I mean, he's not going to win. He knows he's not winning.
Yeah. Okay. And that's where I feel good about my team is you've got a bunch of guys that were at least projected to be better than what they are, that now they're coming here in the spotlight of Dallas on a prove-it season. And you do have some nice pieces that were already there. But Micah, for the first time, has somebody who can be his Robin over there. For the first time since, the last 3 years, you've got a legitimate threat for CeeDee Lamb. That's going to open up things tremendously.
Let me ask you this then, Mark, and I'm going to, again, I can't wait to see Philly's response.
Uh-oh.
Okay, how about this one here? Who has in the NFC East? Who has, and I'm not going to put the Giants in because I don't know who their signal caller is. Who has the best trio, quarterback wideouts? Dak Prescott, George Pickens, CeeDee Lamb, or Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, and Devontae Smith? Who do you believe has the best passing attack in the NFC East?
Cowboys. Cowboys with Pickens added to it? No, because Dak, listen, no disrespect to the Eagles and winning the Super Bowl, but you did not win the Super Bowl because of Hurts's arms. And because of Saquon being the threat that he is, he only had to throw 21 passes a game.
Well, wait, no. And see, the question
23.
See, the question was asked to me too. I still think the Eagles have the best offense, but I mean, look, like I said about Jalen, they didn't have him, and nor do they want him. The big comment that Philly gives me and all Eagle fans, well, they didn't ask him.
They didn't need it.
Okay, right. So how could you be when your quarterback's 20th in passing offense and he's 18 touchdowns? And I mean, he has a 90 net against the Packers. That guy doesn't have to win 4 games in a row throwing the ball. Wait a minute, right? I'm not debating it. The question was, who has the best passing attack?
The Eagles.
Okay,
the Eagles
let's back up. Let me teach you something here, Philly. Let me teach you something.
Nobody said they don't have the best
offense. Dan Sileo, Miami U, outstanding player, former Dallas Cowboy, CFL player. The game plan that Kansas City came out with was, we are not going to let Saquon beat us. They literally said Jalen Hurts has to beat us. And they made sure that Saquon could not run. And
he did.
And because they did that, it opened up everything else.
Okay. Well,
having that threat,
he doesn't have to do that,
and having the receivers that you had to.
Mark, he doesn't have to do that every week because they've got Barkley. And by the way, it's not a rip. It's not a rip.
I'm fine. But what did they think 2 years ago when they played Kansas City in Super Bowl? They said, we're going to do everything to stop Miles Sanders. No. And what did Jalen Hurts do? And what did Jalen Hurts? No. Jalen Hurts arguably was the best player.
Are you suggesting that you really believe that Jalen Hurts is a better passer in the pocket?
I believe the Eagles are a better passing team if they need to be than Dallas. Yes. Do they need to be every week? No. But when it matters, and listen, you see, he's laughing, thinks it's funny, it's a joke, but his guy can't win a playoff game. My guy wins playoff games. My guy wins playoff games. My guy makes the throw. My guy, he delivers the dagger. to
Right.
Devontae Smith
Right.
in the biggest game.
Right.
If you can't throw and you can't make the plays on the
Nobody's
biggest
debating
field, no, but it matters because if the game is a playoff game and you're throwing the ball well, to me that matters so much more than if you throw 30 touchdown passes. So what I'm saying to you is, how can Dallas have a better passing attack when
because
their quarterback can't do it?
Wait a second.
When it matters the most.
Rodgers is a better passer than Tom Brady.
But
he's a better thrower of the.
But he's also won.
That doesn't mean that he doesn't win as much. That's not what the question was. Who has the better?
It's connected. It matters. No. It matters. Yes, it does.
Matters. No, listen, the question.
I don't care what a guy throws preseason.
Okay. The
compared
question
to what he throws
I got
in the
asked. The question I got asked today was, what does George Pickens do for the Cowboys? And I said, well, it improves the passing attack. They probably have the best passing offense in the East. However, that doesn't mean they're the best offense in the East. I would take
but it opens up so much more there, bro.
I would take the Eagle offense because no one can stop the run game on a week-to-week basis.
I will agree with that. I will agree with that.
But wait a minute. The guy in Cincinnati has the best passing offense. That thing won 9 games. So what?
You can't hold Saquon Barkley and the threat of the run game against the Eagles wide receivers and Jalen Hurts. You can't do that because if they go out there and he's a threat and it opens up the passing game for Jalen Hurts, how does that not?
He threw the ball 300 times.
He didn't have to throw it any more than that.
That's why the point is
you can't. What do you mean he's not a better passer? He played on the biggest level. He won a Super Bowl. He was the MVP.
He will never, ever in his career throw for $4 grand.
Wait a second. You guys are saying that you got to discount the fact that he's got a running game.
No.
Well, what are we talking about?
You're the best team there, Philly. You're the best team. It doesn't mean you're the best at everything.
No, if Saquon Barkley is opening up the passing game,
they said, what
for the Eagles, that helps the Eagles.
What does George Pickens' addition mean to the Cowboys offense? I said they improved their passing attack, and I laid it out. Dak's a better. Dak has
Saquon Barkley.
He's a better thrower. He'll never be the player
Barkley
that Dak is from the pocket.
Passing game.
It doesn't matter though. Oh
my
God!
Why does it matter?
If you have that guy throw the ball, get this. Hey, Mark, if you have that guy, Jalen Hurts throw the ball 600 times, he'll have 20 turnovers.
At least.
I don't know that. I don't know.
Okay. Well, they did in 2023. They had him throw the ball more. He had 15.
How many did he have last year?
Because he threw the ball 350 times.
It's okay. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If
the question was asked,
the question is Dallas does not. That's my answer. There's no way Dallas is a better passing game than the Eagles.
You were 30th in passing last year because you wanted to be.
I don't care.
We didn't need it. Yeah, that's right. Just like, remember, you guys can't throw, you can't throw. When do we go in and play Pittsburgh?
This is a theory of yours that it's better.
No, it's better because they won. They did it in the biggest stage, on the biggest level. You can't discard the games and when they mean more than when they don't. Do I care that Dak Prescott throws 200 yards in preseason?
You're adding to the question. I asked you, who has the best passing attack in the NFC East? And you're trying to tell me the Eagles are. You didn't win last year. Right. You didn't win the Super Bowl throwing the ball last year.
What do you mean? How did Jalen Hurts win the Super Bowl?
He won 2 ball games throwing the ball.
What did he do in the Super Bowl?
You were 30th in passing.
Who was the MVP?
How did you? Saquon Barkley was the MVP of that
team.
Come on.
No, of that Super Bowl on the biggest stage on the Super Bowl, that specific game.
That guy will never in a million years.
How many yards?
Dude,
you guys give way too much credit to that.
Let me ask you this then. if AJ Brown doesn't win the Super Bowl and they run the football 36 times again, and he finishes 45th in targets again, how do you think that's going to roll?
No, I don't know. That's
I asked you an opinion. It's an opinion. I asked you what you think.
I'm sure he would want his targets, but I'm sure, I'd like to think that he'd be very happy winning. So that would trump all. I would hope.
You would. Are you hoping that, or do you believe that?
Yeah, I'm hoping. I don't know.
So he bitched last year, and get this: you had a guy in the sideline reading War and Peace while the team was winning a ball game, and all of a sudden
dude's been doing that for his whole career.
Okay.
We happen to pick it up on camera. Nobody cared about that.
Can I interject?
Please.
So that's saying that Jim McMahon was a great passer with that 85 Bears?
No, the question was who has a better passing game?
I understand that. I'm equating this since the Bears lost one game that year and kicked everybody's teeth in, that Jim McMahon was the best passing game in football then, right?
Different era.
Oh, okay. And they say I'm delusional.
They only threw
what? Then let me use your theory then. Who has a better passing attack, the Bengals or the Eagles?
The Bengals.
Okay.
Pure passing?
Yeah.
Maybe if we're talking regular season, Bengals, but when it matters, the Eagles. Now I give Burrow credit because he's been to a Super Bowl. I think that's important to actually do it when it matters the most. And that's my point.
I love this. This is
can't. I don't care what you do in the regular season. I care what you do in the playoffs.
Finally, there's something to talk about with the Cowboys.
Thank God.
Yeah. Finally, they're relevant again. A little bit.
A little bit. Yeah.
Do you give them that much? 500?
No, I think they made a good move. I think that they're better than they were a day ago. I think they're going to compete for second place with Washington.
Okay.
I don't think they caught the Eagles. Not close.
Okay, so so you're not sure if the Eagles got better this offseason?
Well, I think that you lost a lot of guys, and there's a lot of guys that I'm very hopeful that I have a lot of excitement about. But we got to go see what they could do. But I do think that it may take some time. It may take a step back. But I think to take a step back and then take 3 steps forward is what's going to happen. I think that there's still nobody better.
And listen, well, let me ask you one last question, 500. Is 2025 Nakobe Dean's final season?
Yeah.
I'm gonna. I until I see how they use Jahad Campbell, I'm gonna say yeah. I think it could be.
Okay,
I think Campbell's
because where are you going to play Jahad Campbell? That's my point. Where are you lining? If you were to line up right now, where are you playing him?
Probably where Nakobe plays.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe a little bit on edge rusher. They want to see what he does over there, but he's kind of got to show that he can do it consistently at the next level. So I think the most likely scenario is Nakobe Dean's spot, and I don't think Dean's going to be ready early. So. If this kid can play early on, I think he'll play.
Okay. Now last one here on you. Micah Parsons. Where are we going here? I mean, what's the latest on this?
It's funny. It's so funny that everybody's so worried about Micah Parsons, like he's going to get traded and all that. That's the Cowboys' way. They're milking this thing right now. You think that they were going to move his locker over with Dak, that he's going to show up for OTAs, something he has not done the last 2 seasons. The last 2 seasons, he was not there for voluntary works. They're going to get that thing done. It's pretty much already there. It's a wink, wink, nudge, nudge. We're going to play this thing out. In the meantime, we're going to go ahead and take care of business. But here's the thing I'm going to say is, you Eagle fans are a little bit more worried today than you were yesterday, because y'all are looking in the rearview mirror and you're sitting here looking at yourselves coming up behind you. You see the Cowboys, they end up bringing back guys like Dante Fowler on cheap deals. They have improved. They have actually drafted a team trying to compete with you guys. I'm not going to say that we're there yet, but the Cowboys are sitting potentially right now on about $46 million still of cap space. And I can guarantee you that Jerry Jones, with this, as Dan Sileo pointed out, that this is his last hurrah of him being the GM, president of operations, whatever you want to call it. He's going all in to try and get that ass. Pause.
All right. You don't worry about the Cowboys, right, champ?
There's no reason to worry about the Cowboys right now.
Give me your three teams you worry about in the NFC.
I don't worry about anybody, but if I had to say the toughest three teams in the conference, I would go Eagles 1. I would say Eagles, Rams, Lions. Then I have Washington and Dallas statistical tie. I think they're about even. And that's where I would probably have the NFC ranked.
Chicago, Green Bay, anywhere in there?
Chicago's got to prove something to me. Same with Green Bay. But,
what about Washington?
They could be. I think Washington's like 4. I think Dallas and Washington are around 4.
So we're moving up in the hierarchy here.
I thought you moved up. Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I think you moved
up. So we're going in the right direction.
You are.
Okay.
You are until you play us week 1, hopefully.
Mark,
FYI, people are convincing me to go to that Eagles game in Philadelphia. Dan, we know you're not leaving your house. We know that. I'm not even going to try that.
Actually, I've been invited by Morgan & Morgan to go to Philadelphia and be part of broadcasting this off season and coming up this football season with Clancy Boland, the crime fighter for Morgan & Morgan there. So I may be broadcasting live from the facilities there.
Okay.
So that looks like that may end up happening, actually.
And I would say Philly.500. Can we play? Can we go there for that game? Cowboys,
Maybe.
Eagles.
You got to knock me out to get me on a plane right now because I'm scared to fly. You see all these plane crashes every week, every day. Got these planes going down, and wheels falling off.
An excuse.
I'll drive cross country.
I came to the West Coast to see both of you guys, and y'all were no shows.
Actually, the Dallas Cowboys jobbed you for $450 to get a press credential to sit your fat ass in there, and then you went and I went. No, it's not happening. So let's be candid there on what really went down there.
Okay.
Fair. Hey, man, believe me, that's the first time I've ever seen that, too. What I'm talking about is usually you just show up, Philly, and you can show up to training camp. Now the NFL teams, including the Cowboys, are charging for press access now to go to these training camps, especially what is that, Oxnard?
Yeah.
That you guys are in? Yeah. I mean, shit, man, it's like $350 to go and get that press credential now. Before it was free.
I tell you what, Big Sills, I'll flip the bill for it.
Oh God.
Okay. If that's the only reason why you won't show.
All right. Listen, you pay for that. I'll show up this year at training camp. I will.
Oh boy. Yeah.
You got to come down and meet us then, Philly.
Yeah, I might do that.
All right.
You won't do it. Neither of you mother humpers are going to show up. Okay.
No, I just gave you because I gotta get out of my cave here a little bit because I've been told that I'm hurting myself a little bit here. So we got to get out of the cave here. Listen, bro, that was awesome, man. I'm really get this. I'm really glad that the NFC East is back to being relevant again.
Ooh,
and I think it's going to be. Hey, you still pick the NFC North, right? Being the best division in the NFC.
No, NFC East is the best division.
Wow, really?
I think I think so because, well, I mean, I think Detroit's good. Green Bay, to me, Green Bay is going to be what Green Bay usually is. I think they're pretty much there. Minnesota,
quarterback.
We'll see. Chicago is another one. I mean, they went out and did a lot of things. Let's see what they are. Let's see what that quarterback is. And just remember the running game affects the passing game. That's what you guys can't discount in this whole thing. And that's why Jalen Hurts in that passing game is the best in the division. Easy.
The guy gets 18 touchdown passes, 2,900 yards because they want him to. And he's got the best passing attack.
18 blindfolded, my man.
18 Hey,
eyes closed.
Do you know the guy at Army had more touchdown passes or touchdowns that played in Army? Hey, make sure you tell
matter.
Make sure you tell the guys where to find you.
That matter.
Tell
18
him,
touchdowns
Mark, where to
matter.
find you, big dog.
Not garbage.
Generally
Dak Prescott
speaking, you
touchdown
can find
passes.
Philly.500 under a rock there, but JAKIB Sports Report on Twitter, Facebook, on YouTube, everything. Just look for JAKIB Sports Report and you'll find me. Hell, as they put it, I do 50 million videos a day, so if you go on YouTube, chances are you'll come across one of them.
It's tripled, and it's going to triple this rest of this week. That's for sure.
Hey, is it 90% Dak? Is it 90% Dak, Philly?
No, he's like it's like you got to do a Dak video, then it's trash the Eagles video, then it's a food video,
Jerry
then it's
Jones
a Micah video, then it's a Dak video again, then it's a Philly.500 trashing video.
Where's the Mike? No, any Micah Parsons videos?
Yeah, there's Micah.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah. And then you got to throw in a Mozzie Smith too.
Nobody triggers Mark as bad as Dak though.
Yeah. So are you still going for Amari Cooper there though?
I don't want.
You tried to bust my dreams the other night.
No,
you came at me with, we're going to take Amari Cooper from the Cowboys.
I thought you would take. I never thought Dallas would trade for Pickens, and I never thought Pittsburgh would do it either. I thought the whole point of DK Metcalf was to get 2 wide receivers to attract Aaron Rodgers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you might want to give a shot at Nick Chubb.
Yeah,
see if you got anything in the.
Well, Jaden Slater says, "No, that's not happening. That was never."
Thank God Dallas did get Tyler Warren though. That would have been nice. That would have been something.
Yeah, why did you trade up for the Boise State kid? Genty, why don't you get him, man? I'd rather have you get Genty than the guard.
Yeah, because you got to protect Dak. Dak can't run anymore, and you got to deal with that Eagles front line. Jalen Carter is a beast. I hope Tyler Booker is what they think he is, because we need that. Because there's no joke. You got a bunch of thugs there for a defensive front, and they scare the shit out of me.
Yep, they're good. Philly, tell them where they can find you, brother.
Just type Philly.500 and I'll come right up. I appreciate you having me on, Sills. I love this kind of shit.
No shit.
I could do this all day long, man.
Me too.
All day long, we could argue.
Absolutely, man.
We're just talking, baby. We're just talking.
Hey, do me a favor, Mark. Stop hiding from me, man. Come on here. We want you to come on. Everybody ask every week for you to come on. All right?
Had a lot going on.
By the way, Xander loves your ass. Okay?
Pause.
All right, guys. Get the hell out of here. You guys were awesome.
All right, man. See ya.
You got it. That was awesome. Great stuff as always. Our good friends. By the way, make sure you check out their fabulous channels. They do a great job at covering the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles. I love the shot of whiskey, too, that Mark took just to get ready for this whole group thing here. This guy goes, I'm going to need this here, man, just to settle my nerves. Bang, he sets it down there. Guys, don't forget my great friends at Morgan & Morgan, the #1 injury law firm in the United States of America, with over $26 billion recovered for clients across the country. Morgan & Morgan, that is their track record. That is what they do. $30 million they ended up getting for a family in Pennsylvania here. $650K they were initially offered down in Florida. There was a family that was offered $350K. They ended up getting $12 million. If you're ever injured, please do me a favor and check out our friends at Morgan & Morgan by going forthepeople.com/big cells or pound law 529. That's FORthepeople.com/big cells or pound law 529. And do me a favor, you tell them Big Cell sent you.
This is Eric,